Hey, everybody, it is Chris, and welcome to the Bonner Breakdown. This is episode 24. We are going to be joined in just a moment by Kyle Bostock from North Summit Church. I've been excited, been wanting to have Kyle on for a while. We were able to connect and get this going today. First off, of course, we want to say thank you to our sponsors, BCHA. Bonner Community Housing Agency has been working in the community to provide affordable housing since 2007. For 13 years, we've developed and built and sold 17 different houses to different families, helping them get into homes that they normally wouldn't be able to afford. As we look at the current crisis and everything going on, one of the things that I thought was interesting is that affordable housing development was considered an essential service. And so even the government says it's really important that we get people into housing. One of the things I love about Bonner Community Housing Agency is that we're always providing opportunities for people where they are able to get loans and borrow the money. And then some of our loans that we give at 0% interest with no payments, but they do eventually pay it back. So we're helping people who normally can't get into houses get into houses. You can find out more at bonnerhousing.org. And we also want to say thank you to Ting, ting.com/Sandpoint. If you don't have Ting yet, you haven't experienced how fast the internet actually could be. When you have Ting, it is amazing how fast the internet is, especially living up here in Sandpoint, all the different options that we've had over the years. You know what? I love that my window loves to freeze. So in the middle of that, I'm going to reset it. And so that everybody can see me. There we go. So with Ting, one of the things with high-speed internet is that you don't have any downtime. You don't have any slowdowns. You're able to move quickly, reliably on the internet. Go to ting.com/Sandpoint and see if it is in your neck of the woods or not. Okay, with that, we are going to go ahead and get Kyle Bostock on with us right here. So hello, Kyle. How are you doing? Good. I'm doing really good. It's good to have you on the program today, episode 24. I'm a little surprised that we're at 24 already. So I got to figure out how to keep my keep my wonderful camera from freezing. So, but yeah, it's good to see you, Kyle. We start every single show with what we call the good report. So, what you got? What's your good report?
As you know, being a pastor, everything that we do is about bringing people together and doing, events and services and celebrating together. And it's been amazing to me to watch as really the church in Sandpoint, the Big C church in Sandpoint has activated, like loving, I get calls from people, hey, how can we help? And right now there isn't a lot of things that we can do to bring people together to help other than, hey, look after your neighbors, call your friends, see what's going on. And just the stories of small groups, helping people with rent or groceries or toilet paper, whatever it might be. Like for some people, that's a real deal. So that's been awesome. The other thing is I've just been really encouraged. I got friends all over the Northwest that do ministry, and the incredible ways that they've been creative over the last few weeks has just been it's a lot of fun. And I'm actually encouraged to see what this produces long term for the church. I know there's, we want to be able to get back together and do all that. But I think sometimes when the status quo kind of goes away for a little bit, we have to think out of the box. And so just good report in just seeing the creativity of people and connecting in different ways through that.
That's awesome. So, that's so great. My good report is that we have seen, I think it's interesting you talk about the uptick in creative benevolence, right? Like creative ways to serve, creative ways to do that. And one of the things that I've seen is the growth of positive connectedness on social media. and, it's easy to point out at the people griping and moaning and complaining and I hate to say fear mongering, but you see some of that go on social media, and yet there's a huge contingent of people who are just focused on how do I connect people to meet needs. And so watching that happening on social media has been really fun to watch. And to me, that's a great report. So I think our reports are kind of in the same vein. So
Yeah.
with that, let's give a cheers to the good report. So we'll go
Cheers.
ting, clink the glasses. Oh man, I'm telling you, it tastes good when we do it together.
That's right.
That's right. All right. So Kyle, let's jump in here. How long have you been in Sandpoint? Give us a little bit of your history, your background.
Yeah. So I've been here pretty much my whole life, other than a few years where I, took some detours there, but grew up in the Sagal area.
Okay.
My great grandparents homesteaded in Sagal. My great grandparents had the gas station there, and little convenience store. And then my great grandma was the postmaster. And so lots of history in the Sagal area, in the Sandpoint community. And so getting to grow up here in this community has just been amazing. The connections, the ways that it's grown. And there's just something always, special about this place. Every time you drive across the Long Bridge, you know that it's unique here.
Right.
Spent some time in Boise for college. And then in 2013, I left Sandpoint, went just south to Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls area. Was at Real Life Ministries there for a few years. And then in 2017, came back on staff here at North Summit. So.
Okay. And tell us a little about, you got a family, married, kids.
Yep.
Give us a lowdown.
Yes. So Katie and I met while we were in Boise. She's actually from the Deer Park area.
Oh, okay.
And we've been married for, it's going to be 18 years this year. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Is that right? Do my math right? Yeah. And so we have 3 beautiful children. Our daughter Isabel, who's going to be 12 here pretty soon. Our son Weston, who's going to be 8, and then our little Joy Oakley, who is going to be 2 pretty soon. So
yeah, that's awesome.
A 12, 8, and 2.
Time flies, man. I can't believe Oakley's 2.
I know, right?
That's wild. Wow.
The baby stage went fast.
Yeah,
which is okay.
That's right. Yeah, well, we can navigate that. We're going to be okay. Yep. So you having such a long history here in the Sandpoint area. One of the things whenever I talk to somebody who's been here a long time, I always ask the question, what's changed? Like, what are some of the big differences, big changes that you've seen? Everybody talks about how the area is changing, we might not be keeping up with the change or whatever, but what have you seen change since growing up here?
I would say that in a lot of ways, the spirit of Sandpoint remains the same. I think people move here. Because they like the way that things are, and always, as things grow, stuff goes along with that, where infrastructure and all of that has to happen. But I think one of the things that draws people to this area is that sense of having community. I talk to so many people who are, whether they're leaving California or Colorado or Washington, on the other side of Washington, it's just, they're looking for a place where they can belong. They're looking for a place where they can serve. So many people that I hear are coming here going, I kind of did the rat race. I raised my family, and now I want to find a place, and I want to find a community where I can serve and be a part of. And so I'm not one, I guess. I like change. I like to see things mature and to grow and to kind of develop in those ways, as long as it's the right ways.
Right.
And so as long as we do that well and stay true to who we are as a community, I love to see the growth that is happening here in the Sandpoint community.
Yeah, come on, that's awesome. And would you say you said the spirit of Sandpoint kind of has stayed the same? How do you put that in words?
Hmm. Um, it's just that sense of family, I think.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
uh, growing up in a community where, half the people you went to school with were your cousins of some sort.
Right.
Like everybody kind of was family, but we had, just a lot of, we have a lot of friends. We have a lot of people that we've done a lot of life with that,
Uh-huh.
they might not be biological family, but they're family.
Sure.
And,
Sure. Totally.
uh, and I think that's kind of the spirit of, like, and you see it. I mean, we're seeing it right now, and we've seen it over the years when hard times hit, when things
Right.
come our way, like we all come together. We love one another,
Yeah.
and some of those things that maybe would divide us a little bit more, those walls start to break down a little bit and
Right.
come together. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this whole crisis, it's a tragedy, and anyone whose family is sick, like, that's concerning. I think about those that that can't go out and are staying at home, and maybe
Yeah.
home life isn't the best, and so
Yeah.
that's not the best thing. But um, a lot of times in these crises, we see the best of people,
Right.
and we see
Yeah.
that love for one another, and so um, that's kind of, I guess, that underlying spirit that I'm talking about there.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I think there's something really tangible around how people in Sandpoint react in crisis. I think majority of people obviously just come out of the woodwork
Yeah.
to make it happen, especially if there's a specific family in need. We've had obviously different situations with some family where the dad can't work anymore because he has cancer, and you have a spaghetti feed at the fairgrounds that 10,000 people show up, and there's only
Mhm.
8,000 people in the city. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
wow, this is amazing. How this town operates. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So you're at North Summit Church. That's where you're currently doing ministry. Tell us a little bit about your role there and kind of what you do there.
Yeah, so I'm the executive pastor, so I kind of oversee the day-to-day operations and the staff. Dr. Steve Brown, he's our senior pastor who does most of the teaching,
Mm-hmm.
and is kind of our senior leader at the church. And so I get to kind of do the day-to-day operations and working with the team. And so love doing that. Love the team. I mean, it is an amazing team. I'm thankful every day when I just get to hang out with the crew that we have
That's
at North
awesome.
Summit. It's a blast. And so doing that, just a little bit of my history there. I was
Yeah.
on staff when I graduated from college. I came back and was the children's pastor when it was First Christian Church.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for 10 years and then left for 4. And then, now been back for coming up on 3 years here. And
Mm-hmm.
so actually this weekend will be 3 years
Wow. Cool.
back in Sandpoint. And so, gotten to do all the different roles, from children's ministry to
Right.
worship ministry to small groups to all of it. And so, so now getting to kind of have my hands per se in lots of different areas and kind of
Okay.
overseeing and leading the team is, it's just a lot of fun, and they're just a fantastic crew to be able to
Yeah.
with. And like I was saying, they're not just coworkers, they're family. Like, we're
Uh-huh.
family. And getting
Yep.
to, this is a hard season, and going through this with them is just to watch the way that they love people, care for people, reaching out, like, just that desire uh, to meet needs. It's
Mm-hmm.
just super
Yeah.
fun to watch.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you see prior. We're going to talk about what's happening right now, like during COVID-19, in just a moment. But
Yeah.
prior to COVID-19, what would you say was kind of your take on how the church, the faith community as a whole, operates and works in Bonner County? Like, how would you describe just the in general? Like, you've been here a long time, and you've also been in some different places. What's unique or special or good about the kind of faith community here in Sandpoint?
Yeah. and having
Bonner County,
Bonner County in
Yeah.
general. Yeah.
Yeah.
And having been in different places and watched how that goes, not always do you see the churches in a community coming together, loving each other, supporting each other, looking out for one another. And that's something that I love about this community.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, we get together with the local pastors almost every Tuesday for lunch throughout the school year, just to fellowship. We really protect that time just to pray together, to see how each other is doing. For some of us, that's like that moment where we get to kind of let our guard down and just, share our hearts with one another. And so it's fantastic. And what the fruit of that fruit of just friendship and relationship and prayer together has really produced a camaraderie that I think is pretty rare in most communities when it comes to the churches.
Right.
I don't feel like there's a competition at all. We're all on the same team. We're all after the same thing. We all maybe do it a little bit different,
right?
And are focused on different things that we feel like God has called our specific church to. But it's the unity that's there is pretty awesome.
That's great. That's great. And but being in ministry myself, that was one of the things that blew me away, getting involved here, how open people were. I will say that at Harvest Valley, there was a season where we were trying to get some major infrastructure work done on our well. And one of the local churches came through, two local churches came through with very large donations to help us pay for putting in a new well. And to be a small church and have some of the biggest churches in the area say, hey, we're going to give you $10,000, $5,000 to pump into this thing so it doesn't hurt your small community church. I just think that type of thing you don't see. And it's funny because we don't, it's not like I'm going to, we're going to make a Facebook post about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't run around tooting the horn, and the people who are giving just give generously. They're not doing it to get kudos. And they've said, no, don't tell anybody, but the reality is that those things happen consistently in this community.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful. It's beautiful. It's really nice. So, and that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So when you look at, ministry, what's been some of the big plans, goals at North Summit that you guys have had over the last year, things that you were trying to press into before the COVID-19? Like where was the church kind of heading? Because I think that this pause that we've got we've had to shift some things, but I'm just curious where things were heading before all this stuff happened.
Yeah, there's been a lot of pivoting on a dime.
That's a good word. Pivot.
The last little bit.
Man, good word. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just share, we, over the last 2 years, we've really been praying about, what is the place? We know what God's called us to as a community. We're about making disciples who make disciples. We want to live our lives so that we're sharing Jesus with others and leading people to follow him, and we've created resources and we've created ministries around that. Okay. But what was really in our hearts was, what are the needs? Like we don't want to make up something and just do it, because we don't want to do something that the community doesn't need. And so we spent some time for about a year.
That's
prayed.
Good.
We prayed about, where would God lead us and what would God lead us to? And, just over a year ago, maybe a little longer than that, I can't remember, but we launched an after school program 1 day a week, called our ACTS after school program. And, that was awesome. Like to watch the way that our people came around that, to watch the kids who were there, the parents, the interactions, and the whole heart behind that was that we want to create a safe place for kids. Right. A lot of times they go home after school. There's nobody at home, and that's a perfect time for kids to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So we want like, hey, what's a good environment where we can say, here's a healthy snack, healthy meal. Here's a lesson, here's some games, and the games always teach like a good moral principle, biblical principle, as and how to interact with one another relationally well. They do a craft, and then they do homework help. We have such an amazing team that's been doing that. And so we just thought, hey, what if we started moving towards doing that every day of the week, or as many days of the week as we can get people to do it. We just want to continue to move towards that. And so we kind of cast that to our congregation, and people were in for that. And so we've been working towards, what does that look like? We brought on Nora Morrison, who's overseeing our after school program, and they were just about to launch their second day, and do it on Thursday or Tuesdays as well as Thursdays. And this whole thing hit.
Wow.
And so we kind of had to, okay, there's no more school. So obviously there's no after school program.
Yep.
And so we just had to adjust to that. But that's really the heart of that ministry. And, it'll move forward here as things lighten up, and, the curve is flattened, and all that stuff that is way above my pay grade.
Right.
We'll
totally get you.
We'll get back going with that dream and that vision, and just looking forward to the way that can minister to our community. Reach out to those kids who don't have any place to go after school. Maybe their parents are working or whatever, and find a safe place just to build relationship. And also a great place for our church community, others in our community to give back, to invest. Like that's I said, there's a lot of people looking to invest in others right now. And, that's just an incredible avenue to be able to invest in the life of a kid.
That's great. That's great. And I want to jump over to live chat that's going on right now. And I want to say hi to Debbie Brown. Says hi.
Hey,
Kyle.
Debbie.
Yeah. She says, Kyle, you're awesome. Love seeing you. And it's your birthday month, she says. So
it is. It was my birthday yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Sheesh, I was not paying attention on the Facebook notifications, which is how I keep track nowadays, I think, on whose birthday is when. And Leo Hunsaker, which I actually had on the show prior to you, is watching. And so thanks for being on the show. I don't get to see, when I'm live streaming from the business pages, I don't get to see who pops up like I would on my phone. So I don't know who's watching, but awesome. Glad you're joining us. So let's dive into COVID-19. Because this, the governor's order, the stay-at-home order, came, but prior to that, the city of Sandpoint said, "Hey, we're making the recommendation. We're going to participate in what's happening across the nation to flatten the curve, and try and stay at home." It wasn't a mandate; it was just the recommendation. And the governor says, "No, I'm making the proclamation across the state of Idaho. All non-essential businesses, if you're not an essential business, stay home." And that shut down schools, shut down a lot of services that were going on. And immediately I saw busy things happening at North Summit. It seemed like you guys just kicked into gear on some things. Tell us about your process and what happened there for you guys.
Yeah. Gosh, that feels like a year ago at this point.
It was 3 weeks.
It was 3 weeks, 21 days ago. In that season, it was, we were getting information, we were communicating that to our congregation and to those that we serve.
Right.
And that information would change like every day. So we were just trying to keep up, we'd make plans. And then by the next day, we've gone all the way to the end of those plans,
Wow.
And so we had to shift back. And so, the whole team kind of went into action to go, okay, we need to protect those that are most vulnerable in our community and in our church. We're not going to have services like they're recommending. We're going to take all of them online. And luckily, we were a church that was already doing online stuff.
Yep.
And so that was, it's different, but we were able to pivot there very quickly. Then when it came to our after school program, Nora and also Kim Brackett, our children's ministry director, Nora's husband, Chad, Enos Blanchard, who is our office manager and assistant. They, and this was really kind of the brainchild of Nora and Kim, just said, "Hey, we want to pivot the resources that we're doing for the after school program. We know that these kids need food. We know that these families are hurting." And they say, "We want to provide meals every day of the week, Monday through Friday, just drive by, pick up meals." And so
And you got the
That first
perfect
week,
drive-through in front of the
we do,
North Building.
we do,
That's-
we do right there. You can just drive right through, pick up your meal. And so anybody who's listening, if you need food, it's available Monday through
So
Friday.
great.
Please swing by. They're giving out between 80 to 120 meals a day
Wow.
to families, to
That's so great.
individuals, to whoever might need it, just to kind of fill in the gaps for this time. A lot of people aren't working. If you don't have to spend money on food, you can spend it on other things right now. And so that's why we want to provide that. And that first week we had tons of volunteers. Hey, we want to come help, yada yada. And then the governor said, hey, we want a stay home order. And then President Trump said the same thing.
Yep.
And so I got a hold of Panhandle Health District immediately just to say, hey, we want to continue to do this. What do we need to do? And they were amazing to work with us. They
So
said,
great.
hey, just follow these guidelines. We're going to work with you through this. And so shout out to them and just their willingness to continue to help and be of a support to the community. And so we had to limit how many volunteers. We had to limit people dropping off food. We just wanted to limit that contact to keep it as safe as possible.
Sure.
And so it's really kind of fallen on the shoulders of some of the staff, particularly Nora, Kim, Chad, and Enos, who are helping out with providing those meals every day, and they're just doing a phenomenal job loving on the community.
That's just amazing. Of course, Kim Brackett and I have the same birthday, which is awesome. Makes us twinsies. One of the things that is interesting in this process, you're giving out 80 to 120 meals a day, and you're already repurposing resources that you already had allocated for other things. What are you seeing with that in that process? Are there any big needs that you guys are running into right now? Anything that you go like, hey, we could use some help in the community in that, or do you guys have your bases covered?
People have been so incredibly generous. And that, that's another piece. When I think about this community, they just activate, they just step into it. And we've had people because we've had the resources, it's kind of already been there, but people have just continued to pour in, hey, we want to help with this. And it's been such a blessing as people have done that. So, things are pretty good. People continue to give. But if somebody was interested in helping out with that, it always helps to offset the cost of those. And so they can give at northsummit.com/give.
Okay.
And do it towards the ACTS program, because those are the resources we're using to do.
Okay. So the ACTS program is where that's going. I'll make a note in the show notes on that.
Okay.
So that I'll edit the show notes afterwards to add any additional links or anything. So, and then, so you've got all these churches got Easter coming up. We've got big, usually biggest church weekend of the year, and no one's going to be in a building. And so I think there's a paradigm shift happening for a lot of ministry leaders about, okay, how do we do this? And what's the best way to go about this now that we're, kind of in this situation of being online versus in person. So what are some of the things that you guys are doing for Easter? As far as your services, programs online, what do you got going on?
Yeah. So ours has kind of been through the whole Easter week, Holy Week. We started at Palm Sunday last Sunday, and we've been doing online devotionals each day.
Those, yeah.
Different people, different people from our pastoral staff. We have an online Easter guide. We're going to be doing a Good Friday service. It's going to be pretty simple. A time of we're going to take communion together. We're going to go through, just do some scripture reading, a little bit of reflection, and then some guided prayer that kind of guides us through praying for this current season that we're in and prepare our hearts to celebrate Easter. And so we're going to be doing that, online, Facebook, and on our website. Time to come together and reflect. And then, Sunday, Easter morning, we'll be live streaming our services 8, 9:30, and 11, just like we normally would.
I was curious about that because it's Easter, and nobody's physically there. Why live stream three different services?
We just people are creatures of habit. They like the service that they
Okay.
like. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of, they get up and do it. And so, man, I actually started this week a little bit bummed because like, this is one of my favorite weeks of the year because like
Right.
the family's together, like we're
Yeah. Yeah.
celebrating
Yeah.
this very center of our faith in that Jesus has raised from the dead. And so, it's always an amazing time together. And
Uh-huh.
so I started off a little bit bummed, but as I've been kind of working through that with the Lord, um, there's there's also a little bit of excitement that I have now.
Okay.
One, this will actually be the first time since I've had a family that I'll get to spend Easter morning with my family because we're pre-recording all of our services, and
Right.
so we'll get to have Easter morning
So
together. We'll
fun.
get to
That's
do
great.
the services together, and so that's for me personally that it's going to be kind of a special Easter that we might not get again for as long
Same,
as I'm in
same
ministry.
here. Same
Yeah.
here. This will be the first one. Yep.
And so that's exciting, and I'm also excited. It's seasons like this where families get to come together.
Mm-hmm.
I was encouraging the church the other day, like God has called us to be pastors in our own homes, as moms and dads, as
Okay.
husbands and wives. Like we get to lead our families, and so this is an opportunity. Sometimes we leave that to someone else to kind of leave when it comes to spiritual matters,
Hmm.
and this is an opportunity for us to step into that calling that God has for each one of us to
That's
lead
cool.
our families well and in spiritual things,
Mm-hmm.
in our relationship with Christ. And so um, I'm excited for that. Easter morning that people are going to get to do that. Moms and dads are going to get to lead their kids through that. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's
fun.
that's that's really great. And we even talked as a family. We're gonna get dressed up. We're gonna, do all of that stuff and get ready for,
Take the Easter
online.
pictures.
Yeah. Hey, why not? And so I'm excited. It'll be good. So, um, when you look at the other things happening in the community with COVID-19, is there anything else that North Summit's really, focused on or doing in this season during the crisis response, or is it mainly just the food aspect?
Yeah, we work closely with the county. We're a place that if some sort of crisis came, we could, we would be there to be able to help with those things. But
Okay.
with the social distancing,
Right.
there isn't a lot of other thing other than really encouraging people within your sphere of influence. Like we all have our own jurisdictions that God has
Mm-hmm.
given us to invest in, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
each one of us has to look around us and see who it is that God has entrusted to us to continue to love on and encourage and to lift up during a time like this when
Mm-hmm.
maybe more of those maybe we can't rely on the corporate things. We have to
Mm-hmm.
rely on kind of the individual mandate that God has given us to love our neighbor well. And so in this season, it's less about what we do corporately and more of what
Okay.
we do
Individually.
individually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. When you're looking at, reintegrating, eventually this stuff's going to pass its way through. We haven't had it fully come through Bonner County yet. We've got 3 cases, and
Mm-hmm.
as far as I know, no hospitalizations from COVID-19 or anything like that. So, the expectation is at some point that's going to happen. And
Sure.
so there's no possible way for us to stay isolated so long that, like people are going to have to go back to work at some point.
Yeah.
And we'll, hopefully there's enough proactive measures in how we go about that makes it safe for people. But when you look at reintegrating and restarting ministry and getting the ball rolling down some of these paths, what's that kind of look like for you? What do you think? What's that process? Have you guys been able to think through that much yet, or is it still like we're just in triage mode?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay.
We've kind of gotten into a new rhythm.
Right.
It was at first it was like, okay, this is gonna be 2 weeks. We can deal with that, and then we'll get back into things. Now it's like, okay, this is gonna be a little bit longer.
Yeah.
We are probably going to be one of the, because we're more removed from other things.
Mm-hmm.
If it continues to spread, and
We'll be later
peak
in
or
the
whatever, it will
process.
be
Yeah.
later in the
Yeah.
process, and so it might be a little bit longer. And that's the kind of the way we're thinking about this is God hasn't given us jurisdiction to kind of make these mandates and to do these things. So we're going to follow,
Sure.
what our local and, governing officials say to do as far as that. The church we love gathering together. We love being together, but that's not what we are. The church, wherever we are. The church for thousands of years met in homes. They didn't have big buildings to go to. And so we don't need a big building or a little building to be the church. We can do that, in different ways. And so we'll continue to be the church in the ways that God has called us to, regardless of whether we can go meet in a building or not. But as we do that, one of the things I honestly think when things get lifted, it's going to be like a flood back.
I think so too. Yeah,
because
totally.
We're made for community. God created us to be in relationship with one another. And like, this has just shown me so clearly, like, how important it is to be together. I think we're probably going to have a few less hugs, and maybe we're not going to go back to just, shaking hands all the time right away. We'll probably be a little slower.
Absolutely. Totally. Oh man, it was so great. Mika mentioned, my wife Mika mentioned that she was watching something like a show or something, and they were like strangers on the street hugging or shaking, and she's like, like, what are you doing? And it was like one of those moments, and I was, just cracking up because I'm doing the same thing when I see stuff on TV. I'm like, wait, what? Like, okay, that was recorded prior to the
it's so
pretty
funny how
it
quickly
really is.
that
I know
our mindset changes.
Absolutely. So I think we'll be doing a lot of elbow bumps and face mask wearing and all that kind of stuff. And, I think it's all good to try and stay safe. When you look ahead, let's look at this. Let's look at the future of what you see happening at North Summit Church, long term. Like, let's look, when you look at the big picture vision, things that you think are going to happen in ministries or different things, what do you see happening after all this is said and done? What's kind of the focus, mission, kind of vision going forward?
Yeah, I mean, we're excited to get back to the things that we feel like God has put right in front of us into the season, and continue to build that after school program, to build the team that that's going to be there to support that. To continue to bolster and create great ministries for connecting. We have women's and men's ministries. We're coming together. Our small group ministry, where people come, each week, and some of the best stories that we've heard through this season have come through those things. So,
awesome.
We feel like, hey, the path that we've been walking on is where we're going to continue to walk. We just finished through praying, and hey, where's the next step? We knew we needed some more children's space. We knew we wanted to remodel that south building that's a little bit old. And so we've been working towards that. Our first step on that was to create some office space so that we can convert our current office space to children's space. And so
that's a great location for children's ministry right there. That's prime real estate.
Yeah. And that's what we've,
smart.
I remember when we were looking at building the north building, when we were looking to grow back 2005-ish, 2003 time period. And praying about, do we move? We had some land where we could move out. And, when we really thought, we were like, God has put us right in the center. Like, we're in the middle of a community. We're right next to the library. We're in between like the largest schools in the county. Middle school, high school, and Farm and Stidwell. Washington is just down the street. All the neighborhoods, all the housing is right here. Why would we move out of that just to, make a sanctuary that's a little bit bigger? And so, we're committed to being right there, being in the center of our community. That's what we want to be about, is it being a light in the middle of our community.
Sure.
And so we've really said, okay, what do we need to do to continue to make this campus work here? Even though parking is tight, it's hard to get people in and out during services because everybody's jockeying for
those
parking
tiny
positions,
and they're tiny.
And they're teeny. They are.
Oh, that's funny. So how about for you, personally, when you look ahead, with family and your life here in Sandpoint, what are some of the things that you're really looking forward to when all this is all said and done? What are some things that, just maybe aspects of living here or different areas about your life that you're looking forward to getting back to when this is all over?
Yeah. So we feel pretty blessed, and it's kind of one of those things when you're looking for a house when you move back to an area, you kind of know where you want to be. We knew we
Right.
wanted to be close to the church. We knew we wanted to be in the center of a neighborhood. Um, and we found this house there in this neighborhood, and we've just become the best friend. Like our kids are all friends with our neighbors, and they run
So
around.
fun.
It feels like we know, like we never have to worry where our kids are because they're at somebody's house and we're texting, and and so right now, they all can't play with each other. We're they're kind of just doing
Yeah.
their own thing, and so they kind of look across longingly at their friends where they get to play with, that they can't play with right now. And so that piece is hard. So looking forward to just getting back to community and to neighborhood and um, fellowship and all the things we've
Yeah.
been doing. We're actually doing it tonight, just a little Zoom meeting with our
Right.
neighbors, just to hang out and see how
Mm-hmm.
everybody's doing, see if anybody needs anything we can be praying for.
Yeah.
And so excited about that. And I got kids that are in three different seasons of life right now, and
Right.
and I love that. So my daughter's going to be going into middle school, which is a whole new
Wow.
world. I can't believe
What?
it's there right now.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
I know,
That's
like
crazy.
life goes by way too quickly. So
Wow.
I'm excited about watching her grow up. She's just an amazing young woman,
That's
and
awesome.
her love for others and love for God is just awesome. And so I'm excited to see what these years bring for her.
That's
My
great.
son's in elementary, and just doing his thing there.
Mm-hmm.
He's a people person, extrovert to the max. Just needs to be in the middle of everything all the time, and so excited for that season. And then when I think about tender things, it's my kids, right?
Right. Right.
And just enjoying these years with Oakley. The years go by so fast.
They
She's going to be
do.
in
They fly by.
middle school before we know it too. And so
Yeah.
just that's why people move to this community. And I told when I started into ministry, I told God, I'll go wherever you want me to go.
Right.
And when I got the offer to come back to Sandpoint, there's part of me is like, don't go back to your hometown. That sounds terrible.
That's
But
funny.
it's just been the biggest blessing. And I tried to leave for a little
Mm.
bit, and like the Lord's like, come on, you need to, like, this is where you need
Wow.
to be. And so I'm just blessed that he could have called me anywhere, and he called me here
So
to a
great.
place that I love, to a people that I love, and to a community that just it, it I connect with, on a lot of levels, whether it's spiritually, relationally,
Mm-hmm.
recreationally. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things here
Yep.
that we love.
Yep. Oh man, well, this has been a great conversation. I really, there's something just beautiful about this area and about the people that live here. Regardless of where people fall spiritually, it's amazing. Just everybody here has the same kind of heart to really help and support one another, and to reach out and to serve. And I love it. I love living in this place. My wife and I often pinch ourselves like this is where we get to be. Like
Yeah.
this is the place that we feel called to be, and it's just wonderful, 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 wonderful. Um, I'm wondering about before we get going,
Yeah.
when you look at Sandpoint and you look at Greater Sandpoint area, Bonner County, and you guys are doing what you can with your building facility where you're at. When you look at some of the other big needs or big things that you hear about in ministry, what are some of those what you would say are really big needs that need to be addressed in the community is from your perspective? Everybody's got a different perspective on this, and I'm always curious, what do you see as being the big needs here in Bonner County?
Yeah, and I think we have some things that are moving towards those, but you know,
I mean,
and
regardless of what that is, what's
yeah, yeah,
your,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, so finding those places to help people fill in the gaps for their needs. So stuff like Helping Hands, Healing Hearts, and the stuff that they're doing right now is just that. I mean, that is one of those needs where people find themselves in crisis. People find themselves in hard situations, and they need just a hand up, not a handout, to get through that season. And so, you know, that's always a need in a community. One of the things that we do see in your organization is helping out with that is the housing, you know, and that's a piece, and that's something that, you know, we're also going to be talking with Helping Hands, Healing Hearts.
They're working on it,
on that thing, and they just invited me to be on the board of that.
I saw
I'm
that.
Excited to
congratulations.
I'm excited to get to be a part of, you know, what that looks like and how we can reach out into the community and provide a need in a responsible way, and in a way that's going to help people through this time. And you know, my big thing is we want to do things that help people, not hurt people, not get people stuck into kind of a cycle of poverty. And so excited about that. So I would say that that's one of those big needs in our community, but in the right way, right? Like that has to be done. That has to be done well, and has to be done really responsibly, where we're helping people out through that.
No, that's great. I think you nailed something really important there about filling in the gaps. You know, and when we look at Sandpoint Community Resource Center and all the stuff that goes through there, filling in the gaps. There's just a lot of gaps, and there's a plethora of organizations really fighting to help people in those gap spaces. So I think you're right on there. It's really good. Do you have any last thoughts or comments or anything before we take off here? I think we're kind of rounding out our time here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting me be a part. It's good to see your face. And,
good to see your face too. It's awesome.
Get to hang out a little bit. It's been a bit, and I just like to encourage people. You know, I don't know where they are on their spiritual journey, where they are with their relationship with Jesus, but this is a weekend where we celebrate a risen Savior, and if people don't know Jesus, they've never been a part of a faith community or a church, I'd encourage them, hey, this is a place where you don't even have to go through a building. You can just go online. We have a ton of amazing churches. I would recommend all the churches in town, you know, for people to go check it out. Pick whichever one is closest to your home, and check them out online this weekend.
Oh, that's great.
Build relationships. We all need that community. We all need connection with God and with one another. And so just an encouragement for people to lean into that, to check that out, and if they're not already part of that, to get connected.
No, that's great. And there's a lot of great churches in the area. A lot are online, and a lot are doing different things in the community. So, you know, thank you for taking the time to be a part of the program today, and we appreciate it. I'm going to close this out, and then if you just hang on the line for just a minute, we'll be going. So it's good to see you. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. All right. Bye. Thank you for watching this episode of the Barner Breakdown. Special thanks to Ting and BCHA for sponsoring this show. For more shows or to be a guest, please visit barnerbreakdown.com. Have a great day.